interwebs. Today we're doing another vlog response about the Two Towers. I have finished the first half, so book 3 it's technically called. So I wanted to gather my thoughts a little bit on the last half of book 3 and then talk about just some stuff in historical context concerning like war symbolism and Tolkien's religion, all that fun stuff. So to get started, you'll really notice in the Lord of the Rings, Tolkien likes trees, like a lot. He's created an entire race of trees, and a lot of this book is describing the different forests. So he's like describing Fangorn Forest and describing the different Ents. And one of the things you'll notice is that so Isengard, which is where Saruman lives, is kind of like it's like symbolizing industrialization. So it's symbolizing new objectivity and modernity and all of these very new and unsympathetic ideas of the post-World War I era. So you can kind of see Tolkien like rebelling a little bit. I'm not sure what his actual opinions were on industrialization, but you can see that the pure evil of Saruman is embodied in him cutting down the trees of Fangorn and then just like either for fun or to burn to create resources for like his orc armies. So at the end of this book, Treebeard talks about how they fought a battle. So Merry and Pippin convinced Treebeard to go attack Isengard with all of the Ents, and they release the river Isen onto it and flood it. So it's kind of like a reverse, like it's like nature getting revenge on the industrialization. So it's very well exampled in the movie as well, is where it's like it's the Ents' revenge. So it's like Tolkien is having nature take its revenge on industrialization, which I thought it was interesting. To continue talking about World War I themes, I've noticed a little bit that, so there's some stuff that kind of resembles World War I, or at least World War I imagery. First off is Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli kind of like running through no man's land, and also with Merry and Pippin when they're kidnapped by the orcs, going through no man's land, and just like the long endless marches with like almost no rest and no food, which is very much like what sort of marches would have been happening in World War I. You also have kind of like parallels to the Allies and the Axis, with like the way the whole of Middle Earth is coming together to kind of fight against Mordor's forces. So you have like the forces of Mordor being the Axis, so they're like the bad guys, and then you have Rohan and Gondor and like all of these like the cities of men coming together, even though they're of different cultures, to fight against the forces of Mordor. So in this way, it's like the Allies versus the Axis, which is interesting. And then it's also that could also reflect on why fantasy is such a important thing right now. With post 9/11, we had a really interesting discussion about this today in class, of how post 9/11 basically the structure of movies and movie stories changed. And this is like when the movies of the Lord of the Rings started coming out. They were filmed before the 9/11 happened, but there's some imagery in there that's like kind of 9/11-esque. So it's like even with like in the Return of the King when Sauron's tower collapses. But you have the theme of these people from different backgrounds coming together to fight the pure evil. There's no gray area. It is Mordor bad, humans good, basically. So just that's one of the reasons why fantasy has stuck, is because it could be an escape, or it could be like a alternate history sort of deal. So to start looking at some more classic things in this book, I've noticed some parallels between Andúril and Excalibur. So in the book, Andúril, which was the sword that was broken, which is the sword that Isildur used to kill Sauron. Well, not kill, but like get rid of his body, because he's obviously still alive. That the sword shattered on impact, and so it's like the heir of Isildur, which is Aragorn, will reforge the blade, and when they go fight against the forces of Mordor. So in the movies, this doesn't happen until about halfway through the Return of the King. In the books, it happens in Rivendell. So they reforge the sword in Rivendell, and then Aragorn has it all the way through. But it's interesting, so in Helm's Deep, you see Andúril being used in battle for the first time. And I thought this, and that, like, this is Aragorn, like, his full leadership, kingliness, like, he's out there, and he is just, like, he is finally, like, looking like the king he's supposed to be. So that made me think of King Arthur and Excalibur, because you have kind of this supernatural aid in Andúril, and then you also have it in Excalibur. And it's like the king coming into his own and rallying the people behind him, and like becoming who he was meant to be, which is really cool. And you just have some other symbolism stuff. I've talked about like the Norse symbolism and like just some of that. And then I'm looking at my notes. I'm sorry. If you want to look at it more of a hero's, kind of like a hero's journey spectrum, I think Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli's run trying to catch up with Merry and Pippin is like the road of trials. So it's like they're running into, it's like, because eventually when they do catch up with, if you want to look at it from that one, when they do catch up with Merry and Pippin, they've already fought Helm's Deep. And so the road of trials could be them racing to catch up with the orcs, and then meeting up with the Rohirrim, and then like rescuing Theoden, and then going to Helm's Deep, and then fighting Helm's Deep, and then making their way to Isengard, where they finally do meet up with the hobbits. So that I think is like their road of trials. And then Merry and Pippin kind of have like a mini arc, Pippin especially. There is, oh gosh, where was it? Oh, Pippin with the Palantir, which is like the weird crystal ball thing. That's kind of when he begins to grow up, is like when he is like when he discovers the evil that is the Palantir. I'm trying to find the quote. And he's tempted by it, and he's like trying, so he says like, "You have all the luck, Merry," said Pippin softly after a long pause. "You were riding with Gandalf. Well, what of it? Did you get any news, any information out of him?" So now he's like actually interested in the affairs of what is happening. And that's mainly because of the Palantir and its temptation power over Pippin. So, where I am now, I'm about to start book 4. We're going to get to Frodo, Sam, and Gollum, which is the better half of this book, at least in my opinion. So I hope you join me next time. Bye!